forget retro gaming goodness.
No PC should be without it.
Undelete.
Welcome to DOS Days, a nostalgic look back at PC gaming from the mid-80s to mid-90s. This is a companion piece series to Player One Memories, which covers the arcade scene during this same period. For this series, I'll be jumping back and looking at all those great DOS era and early CD-ROM titles that I played and loved so much, as well as the times and places I experienced them. So let's jump on back to 1992, when lead singer of Motley Crue, Vince Neil, announced that after being in the band for 11 years, he was leaving to pursue a career as a race car driver. This actually happened and is here for pure comedy relief.
So with my luck, whoever gets in my car first will probably crash it.
And on the movie front, we got Tarantino's Reservoir Dogs, a movie that single-handedly made walking in slow motion with dark glasses the coolest thing you could do in 1992. And on the TV front, we got the debut of Fox's X-Men cartoon, which single-handedly turned me into a comic book collecting fiend. Surprisingly, Fox didn't cancel it after 2 episodes. May you rest in peace, Firefly. And now on to today's game, which is Alone in the Dark. Was released in 1992 by Infogrames on DOS. It was one of the first survival horror games, although not the actual first, as that belonged to 1989's Project Firestart on the Commodore 64. But it had all the elements that made up the modern mold for the genre. The game is heavily inspired by the works of H.P. Lovecraft and all his Cthulhu-inspired gothic horror. The game's story has you as Edward Carnby, a private detective investigating a Louisiana mansion in the 1920s after the owner mysteriously committed suicide.
The few friends I have call me Carnby. The others call me the Reptile.
It goes without saying that it's a regular breeding ground for monsters and all manner of supernatural activity. The gameplay involves searching the rooms in the 3-story mansion for clues to the backstory, as well as items to solve puzzles dotted around the mansion. The action element comes into play when facing off against zombies or giant dune-type worms in the basement and various other weird creatures. The fixed cameras, just like most games in the genre, at least initially, make these sequences pretty tricky, and with your extremely limited ammo, you have to make every shot count. And if all this sounds a little bit familiar, it goes without saying that this game was a major inspiration for Capcom's Resident Evil series in almost every aspect. Funny enough, the game was almost abandoned initially by Infogrames, with Frederick Reynolds, a programmer at the company, working on the new 3D engine in his personal time. Nobody was really convinced it could be used in a game application, but he didn't give up and worked on the demo and eventually showed it to the higher-ups, and the game was immediately greenlit after they saw it in 1991. The game was extremely atmospheric and felt like you were entering a living, breathing horror movie. With each step taken, you just had to look back over your shoulder. The sound played a major part in its atmosphere, with those echoing footsteps and creaky doors just amplifying the fear of dread. And although the DOS version does a pretty decent job with the music, the CD-ROM version excels it in every way and is absolutely haunting. Although the predetermined cameras are the one thing that dates the game now, it was a breath of fresh air back then, really giving you the feeling of a cinematic nature that games could actually provide. Also, the clever way it was designed made the game playable on most people's PCs at the time, even though it was using cutting-edge 3D for the era. All this did is made the game even more popular with the masses. I originally played a demo of this game before rushing out to my local software shop and picking up the newly released CD-ROM version. It was a real game changer for the genre in terms of gameplay, graphics, and storytelling, and is a real classic in the best sense. The game's budget at the time was $400,000, which was pretty big. Fortunately, the game proved to be a massive hit commercially and critically for Infogrames. Sequels continued for the next 2 decades with hit-and-miss results, and also one of the worst game-to-film tie-in movies ever released.
I just killed John.
What do you mean?
He was one of them. Something was controlling him.
Then you had no choice.
I mean, that movie was almost as dumb as Attack of the Clones, and that's saying something.
The closer I get to you, the worse it gets. I'm haunted by the kiss that you should never have given me.
I take that back.
Check out GOG.com to play this classic DOS release on your modern PCs, plus the first 3 sequels, which are all the best games really in the series, so check them out too. Many aspects of this game have not aged gracefully, but it's still a fascinating look at the roots of the survival horror genre in its modern, chunky 1992 glory.
Game over.
And thanks for joining me, Bastish B at 64K. If you can like and subscribe, that would be greatly appreciated, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.